Hey there, everyone. Mary Cristelli from PCC Wellness and Recreation, back for Wellness Where You Are here at the Lucero Library, branch of the Pueblo City County Library District. I hope you're having a really great evening. It is really cold today and windy. We were just talking about that. So I hope you're staying warm and that you're finding ways to have fun even though things are really different right now. So this evening we're actually going to talk about navigating the holidays with a healthy-ish mindset. I know that it's not like something we can do 100% all the time, and we're actually going to talk about that like all or nothing type mentality, but this time of year can be really stressful, and certainly given the conditions under which we live with the pandemic that is causing lots of changes to our lives and keeping things changed for a long period of time. So how can we navigate these next few weeks with a healthy mindset, with a mindset of like how to care for ourselves, how to take care of each other, especially with these new changes. So we have 5 main things that we're going to talk about. I thought I'd write it down ahead of time so I wasn't frantically trying to scribble while I spoke. I will do some more. I will add some more notes to these, but kind of wanted to highlight the 5 big points that we're going to talk about. So the first piece of trying to have a healthy holiday season, and really when I say healthy, like being well, taking care of yourself, focusing on your well-being. It's not necessarily like you can only eat fruits and vegetables during the holidays. Don't eat any of the good stuff, like the fun stuff. Not that fruits and vegetables aren't fun, because I think they are, but you know what I'm saying. But that there's a way we can navigate these next few weeks with a mindset that is focused on our well-being. I don't really like to get wrapped up in the numbers, and I don't think that body weight is an indicator of someone's health or anything like that. I think that there's a whole lot involved in that, but from like a scientific standpoint, I understand that there's value in that. And so one statistic, and I'm sure that many folks have heard this, is that a majority of Americans actually gain 1 to 2 pounds during this time of year, and that's fine. Our weight fluctuates for lots of different reasons, but what ends up happening in a less healthy way is that we don't end up taking that off, so we just continue to gain that over time. And of course, having a high body weight can lead to things like diabetes, heart disease, stroke, heart attack, that type of stuff. And so there is an element of making healthy choices to keep our bodies healthy, but really I think that the mental and the emotional aspect of self-care during this time period is really, really important. And that if we're taking care of our mind and we're taking care of our heart, that like and when I say heart, like our emotions and stuff like that, is that the rest of it kind of helps fall into place. Because when we are super stressed out or we are feeling our emotions are out of whack, we tend to make less mindful, conscientious choices, things that, decisions for ourselves and maybe for those who we care about that are good for our well-being, our overall well-being. So really that's what we're going to talk about. I just feel like it's important to mention that other piece about like what happens during this time of year to people. So the first thing that we want to do is stick to our routines. So that is going to bed and waking up at the same time, even on the weekends. And I mean, occasionally there's going to be that thing where you stay up a little bit late, and that's fine. But making sure that even though we might be working from home or doing school from home or not having vacation time, and a lot of people have vacation time coming up and school is closed and things like that, that even though we may not have something to do for the next day, that maintaining those sleeping routines are really, really important because it helps our body stay on a regular schedule. And that's not just good for us physically, it's also good for us mentally and emotionally, especially for kids. Kids really like routine. Maybe they don't like it, but kids thrive on routine. So setting routines and sticking to them, even though things are really different. Eating at regular intervals, working out like you normally would, or getting movement for regular schedules. So whatever those routines are, when we're living in a non-pandemic world, as best as we can, trying to stick to those as best as we can. So that's the first thing, is maintain your routines, even though we're living in a crazy time, and even though the holidays are here, and it's okay. Again, it's cool to like take 1 or 2 days here and there of some different stuff, but for the most part, we want to stick to those routines so that our body can maintain some sort of level of quote unquote normalcy. The second thing is to make sure that you are getting movement every single day. So the recommendation is at least 30 minutes of movement for adults, so that's 18 and up, and then at least an hour for those for children and teens, so 18 or 17 and younger, that we're getting that movement that we really need. So I'll write that down. So for adults, it's 30 minutes per day. And then, that is not how you spell day. And then I'm going to put like children, kids and teens, 60 minutes per day. Sorry. So making sure that we're hitting those. Now, there used to be a thing that was like, you got to get all this in at the same time. Like if you don't work out for 30 straight minutes, it doesn't count. And that has been shown to be false. So if you can take 3 10-minute walks once, three 10-minute walks in a day, or if you're a teenager or you got little ones and you do 3 20-minute workout exercise sessions, and that doesn't mean you got to hit the gym. You can just go for a walk if walking is what you enjoy. But making sure that if you are 18 and older, you're hitting 30 minutes, and if you are 17 and younger, that you're getting that 60 minutes, however you get that, however that time breakdown comes, that we're making sure that we're getting that. The third thing is to be mindful about our food choices. So this is a time of year when that can be a little bit challenging, especially because people have the most delicious treats. And what I really love about this time of year is people are in just they have such a wonderful spirit. I wish that as a human race, we just had this type of joy and charitable heart and spirit all year round. But it makes this time of year super special that we like elevate that in a big way. And one of the ways that folks do that, myself included, are that like we bake things or we make treats and then give them away to people. And I think that's the way that a lot of us, I know for myself, is that we show our affection to other people. Is like we want to give them these lovely things that we made and hope that they enjoy them as much as we enjoy making them. So when all of those things abound and they're everywhere, this eating thing, this mindful, healthy-ish eating choices, food choices can be kind of challenging. So this is a big one that I was going to talk about. It's going to take most of the time, is that there are some things we can do. So if you are cooking, baking, whatever that might be, is to use substitutions. Now, I'm going to be honest, this does not always work. It is challenging, but there are some small things we can do. You can use applesauce, like unsweetened applesauce, instead of oil when you're baking. You can use non-fat, plain Greek yogurt instead of sour cream. And I do definitely recommend making sure it is plain. One time I made guacamole and I accidentally used like a vanilla flavor, and it was not a fun surprise. So make sure that it is plain. But you can use substitutions like that. And you can even do, and this is hit or miss. I tried it one time and it didn't go well, and I've tried it again and it's been fine. But you can use beans in baking recipes. So you can use black beans in like a chocolate brownie type of recipe. I've used white beans in banana cakes and things like that. So you can use some healthier alternatives. Adding in vegetables. So if you're cooking food, if you're making something savory and it has a lot of meat or potatoes or corn or anything like that in it, adding a bunch of other vegetables. So carrots are really good in that kind of stuff. Cauliflower is a good substitute because it doesn't have a super strong flavor when you cook it. Summer squash, actually, so like zucchini and yellow squash is a really good vegetable add-in because it doesn't have a really strong flavor. here's a fun fact, you can use it in smoothies. This is not a holiday thing, but you can use it in smoothies as a thickener, and it doesn't change the flavor of it. So that's just a fun little additional thing into that. But yeah, so those summer squashes won't have that. Eating winter squash, so instead of using pasta, so like spaghetti noodles or linguine or that kind of stuff, using spaghetti squash. Instead of potatoes, you can mash butternut squash or even cauliflower. That's very popular right now, is using cauliflower and things. So looking for ways to substitute healthier options in for things that might not be as healthy. Again, that can be kind of challenging, especially with baking, because baking is a very precise science. So I say play with it, try what you are interested in, but know that like if you make something a certain way, or that's the recipe that's been handed down for generations, maybe that's not the thing to make the change with, but try it with something else. If you are a meat eater, instead of using ground beef, you can use ground turkey or even 99% lean ground beef or ground chicken, just trying to just make healthier food choices. We don't have to cut out everything and just only eat raw carrots like rabbits or something. We can make healthy choices and just make small changes. So the first thing would be substitution. Next thing is going to be if you are at some sort of a gathering, which I know is not a thing that's happening this year, but if you're having a lot of food at your, in your household party that you're having, is the plate sizes that you're using is surprisingly a small thing. Using smaller plates, because what we end up doing is we end up filling the whole plate, and the larger the plate, the more we put on it. So using a smaller plate will encourage us to use or to grab smaller portion sizes, and portion sizes that are a little bit more appropriate. Sometimes we have this thing, we call it portion distortion. And so by using a smaller plate, we train our brain to get smaller portion sizes, and we don't have to load it up. We don't have to put everything we see on there. We can go back if we like more. But using smaller plates, when you walk into the room, we call it scan and plan. So look at everything that's available and kind of plan what you're going to have. There might be something on there that you can have any time of year. Maybe there's like mashed potatoes on the table, and mashed potatoes are something you might have often throughout the year, but there might be some sort of special this time of year only dish that's at the table that you really want. So looking over everything that's available and deciding, this is what I want. I don't really want that. I can skip this because of whatever, but making that plan. So I'm going to write that down. Scan and plan. So we've got our substitutions, we have our plate sizes, we have our scan and plan. Excuse me. And then when we're at the table, we want to enjoy our company. So we want to force ourselves to slow down and eat and enjoy the food. Food should be an experience. And yes, food is fuel for our body, and it helps nourish us and keep our body running in all these really excellent ways. But at this time of year, really, there's we have this opportunity to really engage with each other, and we should really be engaging with others all throughout the year. But at this time especially, making the experience about the company, about the people you're with, and not necessarily the food. And I say this as a person who, whenever my family gets together, like everyone is in the kitchen. Food is a huge piece of our family gatherings. We all cook together. It's very much a part of our family culture. And so that can be kind of challenging, but shifting your mindset, even just a little, like, I'm going to slow down and I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to take my time. It takes our body 20 minutes to digest our food and to send those signals back to our brain that tell us, like, I'm sated, I'm satisfied, I've eaten enough, or I'm still hungry and I'd like more. So slowing down and eating slowing your eating down gives your body that time to digest the food and actually give you that right message of, like, yes, I would like some more. So eating slowly is another thing we can do. For that, mindful eating thing. And then the last thing for mindful eating is to as best as you can, eliminate any sort of all or nothing thinking. Okay, and so that is that. I'm going to put a circle around it and the slash like the Ghostbuster symbol, is that we don't want to get caught up in an all or nothing mindset. That's the mindset that says, well, I've eaten it, so why does it matter now? I guess the whole week is a cheat week or something like that, is that you can eat something that isn't necessarily super healthy, but that you really enjoy, and it doesn't have to undo anything. Food is not a reward for your exercise, and this is not just during this time of year, this is any day of any year ever in the history of always, is that food is not a reward for the amount of exercise that you do. Exercise or movement is not a punishment for any food that you eat. And a lot of times we get wrapped up in this all or nothing, very like good or bad. I call it moralistic thinking, like, well, I've eaten the bad thing now, so I might as well just eat all this bad stuff. That is not. Avoid that as best as you can, because that just tanks your spirit. I mean, really, it's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your emotional well-being. It's not good for your heart and your soul. You are not defined by the food choices that you make. And so getting wrapped up in like, oh, I've just ruined it all, can be really, really harmful. And I want to encourage you, if nothing else, if there's nothing else on this board that you look at and you're like, I could do that, I really want you to eliminate in your life every single day, not just during the holidays, that all or nothing. And like, well, it's not worth it anymore because I've already done it. So I've undone everything I've done before. So avoiding that, and be gentle with yourself. I mean, enjoy the food that you're going to eat. It's really okay. If you want to eat the pie, eat the pie. And if you don't want to eat the pie, you don't have to eat the pie. So just being mindful about it. And again, we talked about this months ago at this point. Fill half your plate with fruits and vegetables, and that is a nice way to like to start it off. This is not something I plan to say, but I do feel like it's important, is that sometimes you might be a little bit worried that like, oh, what if there is I want a veggie dish, and I'm worried that there's not going to be a veggie dish. Bring the veggie dish yourself. Always bring something or contribute something to the meal that you know for sure you can eat. So I am a vegetarian, and so I always bring a vegetarian option because I know for sure if I bring it, there will be at least one thing I can eat. And so making sure that you're taking care of yourself in that way too, if you have any sort of special dietary considerations, and keeping those things in mind if you are cooking for others, is that sometimes folks can't eat things for whatever reasons, like their own personal choices or because of like allergies or illness related stuff. So keeping that in mind. The fourth thing, after we, stick to our routines, we're getting our movement in, we're making mindful eating choices, and we're being gentle with ourselves about the food choices that we're making, is plan downtime for yourself. Especially if you are someone who does the holidays for everybody. If you're the person who decorates, makes sure that everything gets put where it needs to go, plans all the menus, buys all the gifts, wraps everything, makes sure that it's like, just plan downtime for yourself. You cannot function if you have nothing to give. I have a lovely friend who says that you can't pour from an empty pitcher. And think of yourself as a pitcher, and that your downtime is you filling yourself back up, because we can't give to others if we don't have anything left over. So make sure that you're sleeping, asking for help if you need it. If you do have a partner or somebody in your household who does all of that, ask them or offer to help, kind of ease some of that burden for them, or ask for that help if you're needing it. If you are like me and you have a really tough time with like letting go and trusting that other people are going to do it, and delegating or like giving off tasks to people, like, it's okay. It may not be done the way that you want it to be done, but if it gets done, that's really what matters the most, is that like you need to have your own time for yourself. Your own well-being is just as important as everybody else's. And I think there are just big-hearted givers out there who thrive during this time of year. They love it. They are so good at it. I've seen people who are they are wizards. And I often worry that they're not taking care of themselves and they're not giving back to themselves. So make sure that you plan those things in at least 5 minutes every single day, whether that is sitting down and breathing deeply, meditating, praying, whatever that might be for you, just in some sort of contemplative silence. If you have a hobby like knitting or crocheting or carpentry, like you're a woodworker or something, you can do that. If you play an instrument, read a book, just anything that's going to help you just focus on yourself. If that's taking a nice hot bath, do it. Just give yourself the permission to step away, but things will get done in time, but you need to focus on you as well. So plan that downtime. The last one of this list is say no and be okay with saying no. This is on pretty much, if you're not to my coworkers, I give these presentations every couple of weeks, so we're not on the same thing, but similar to this. It is on every single list I talk about with self-care and like taking care of your own well-being, is that it is okay to say no. That it is a complete sentence. It is, you're not being rude. You're not being cruel. You're not being a bad partner, child, parent, sibling, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, whatever that might be, friend. No. Sometimes we don't have the capacity. And by saying no, we're giving ourselves the respect of like, I don't have the time for this. I don't have the capacity to do this. I cannot take on more. And by being honest with that other person and saying like, I'm sorry, I can't take on any more right now. I can't do that. You're giving them a gift of like, oh, wow. You're not only like being on the gift of honesty is really important, because a lot of times when we want to say no and we don't, we end up being full of resentment, and it comes out a lot of times in like a passive aggressive way. And so that's just not healthy for that relationship. And so by being honest, you're giving them the gift of honesty, and you're also letting them know that it's okay in the confines of this relationship that we can say like yes or no if we really don't have the time for that. And to me, that is such a valuable way to build and strengthen a relationship, is to give each other that space to do that. So practice saying no, and that is like in the nicest ways you can. I mean, if you are a no sayer all the time, maybe think about that. But I think most people, almost all people, I would argue, do not say no, and we do it because we're afraid that someone else is going to think that we're being awful or going to lay a guilt trip on us. Now, it goes the opposite way as well, is that sometimes other people are not going to have the capacity to do that. And so being open to being told no is just as important as being able to say no and feeling okay with that. So give yourself the permission to say no, thank you. And that is like, no, thank you. We won't be able to make it. No, thank you. I don't want any more. I think sometimes we will take things and eat things even though we don't want it, because we don't want to be rude or hurt somebody's feelings. And so there are different ways that we can all say that no, that honors the other person and their humanity and this generous thing that they might be doing. I think food, like other people giving food, trying to make you eat more food, is the one that feels kind of bad. But it's okay to say no. So those are the 5 big things that we can do to help take care of ourselves and navigate this season. These, transfer all throughout time and space and everything. But I so strongly believe that it is important more this year than ever before, because of the fact that we're living in a time that we're in a pandemic, and our holiday celebrations have to look different this year because of that, because of the interest of public health and safety and personal health and safety. And so you add all of that and this thing of things that are different this year, and people are grieving and they're lonely and they're isolated and they're frustrated and they're angry and they're fed up and all of these other things. And now we can't do the things that we normally do around this time of year. And so it's so important that we take care of ourselves and then we take care of each other. And so if you live with other people, implementing these 5 things into your own life, but also encouraging your family, your household, your loved ones, people who don't live with you, your siblings and friends and parents and that kind of stuff, to implement these things into their lives as well, because they can help us year round. But right now, at this time of year, when we have to change things, for those of you who celebrate whatever holiday that might be, there are a variety of holidays that are celebrated all throughout this month of December. But whatever that might be for those of you who do that, is that implementing these things into your mindset about the holidays. We don't have to change the way that we live our lives during this one month just because it's different. We can maintain these things all throughout the year, and that's just how I believe is how we care for ourselves and take care of our make sure that we're well. So the last piece on here is a star piece, and that's on loneliness and grief, and that is because like the holidays can, in general, not just like pandemic aside, the holidays in general for some people are not joyful. They do not, elicit good memories and warm, fuzzy feelings. And if that you are someone who that resonates with, you're like, I don't know what you're talking about when you say this is a wonderful time of year and it's really lovely. I don't like it and I feel really awful this time of year. Like, that is okay. There is nothing wrong with you for that. Those are your feelings and you get to have that. And my heart is with you, and it hurts for you because I don't think any person should feel bad at any time. I just hate, it just breaks my heart when any person feels bad or down or lonely or is going through something really difficult. And so if the message of it's, joyful and cheerful and all of that doesn't resonate with you and you feel the exact opposite, please be kind to yourself and be patient and loving with yourself. Give yourself the space that you want and need to feel your feelings. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you know somebody who doesn't, the cheerfulness doesn't resonate, who is suffering, be gentle and kind with them and be supportive and show up for them. Ask them how you can support them and help them, and give them the space and the time and the grace that they need to heal, because holidays can be really difficult for people who have lost loved ones or who've been through traumatic events or who've had like bad things happen around this time of year. It can cause a lot of grief and it can bring up a lot of uncomfortable and painful feelings. And there's no timeline on that. There is no timeline on the grieving process of anything, of the loss of anything. And that's not just the loss of another person. That could be the loss of a job, it could be the loss of a home, the loss of whatever you might be grieving the loss of, is that there's no timeline on that. And there are steps involved, but they're not linear. It's not 1 check, 2 check, 3 check. It's 1 5 3 5 1 2 1 2 1 1 1 5. Like it, and it will come and go through a lifetime. So if you know somebody who's grieving at this time of year, please be kind to them. And if you are that person, please be kind to yourself. There are lots of resources available. Last time we had thrown it up there on a PowerPoint slide, and I forgot to send the slide this time. But there are resources available. Please reach out and ask for help if you're feeling these things this year. Again, because of the pandemic, because of physical distancing, because of the quarantine, people who are ill or not around their loved ones, that escalates. So that could make even the most joyful holiday lover feel bad. And so if you're experiencing that and it is feeling overwhelming, please reach out to someone who you love and trust and care about, who loves and cares about you. And there are people who do love and care about you. Please know that. If it's overwhelming and your loved ones can't help you, I so strongly encourage reaching out to a mental health care provider like a counselor or a therapist, or there are also crisis lines. So I hate to end something that was started out so joyful with a sad note, but please just take good care of yourselves this time of year and every day of the year. but be good to yourself and be good to the people around you and be kind to everyone you come in contact with. And in some ways, we're all having a bad day. And so just have a great season. And I know that it's different this year, and that is a huge bummer and it's very frustrating. But eventually, things are going to get back to some sense of normalcy. And before we know it, we'll be back to our normal type of celebrations and traditions. But for the time being, let's just take very, very good care of each other and ourselves. Have a really great evening. See you in a couple weeks.